on earth. Those who were on earth were called Anunnaki, literally meaning those who from heaven came to earth, which is exactly the meaning of Nephilim.
Millions of people have watched it, shared it, felt something shift inside their chest when they heard the claim. A Sumerian tablet, ancient, hidden, a record so detailed, so specific, that it allegedly names every star carrying life and marks the one star that made contact with Earth. The video did not whisper this, it announced it, and the comments filled within hours. People writing that this changed everything. People writing that this proved the Bible was right all along. People writing that someone powerful must have buried this for a reason. The claim spread the way fire moves through dry grass, not slowly, not carefully, but fast, hungry, and without asking questions. But here is the thing nobody stopped to ask. Where is the tablet? Not a screenshot, not a YouTube thumbnail. Where is the museum record? Where is the excavation site? Where is the transliteration, the peer review, the scholarly publication? Where is any evidence at all that this specific tablet exists in the form the videos describe? The silence behind that question is louder than the claim itself. Hi viewers. Before this documentary goes any further, here is the one question worth stopping for. Have you ever shared something online about ancient history or the Bible that later turned out to be exaggerated or completely false? Drop your honest answer in the comments. No judgment here. The answer matters more than people think, because the people who shared that tablet claim were not foolish. They were not gullible in the way that word usually sounds. They were searching. There is a hunger in the human heart, wide and old and stubborn, that wants the universe to be full, that wants the heavens to mean something, that wants ancient records to confirm what the soul already suspects, that this world is not the only world and this story is not the only story. And when something arrives that promises to feed that hunger, the hunger does not stop to check the source. That is not weakness. That is the oldest ache in human history. But here is the wound beneath the wound. If the tablet is not what it claims to be, then the people who trusted it were not enlightened. They were used. Their longing became a product. Their sacred curiosity became someone else's view count. That is the story this documentary is actually telling. Not the story of a tablet. The story of what happens when belief becomes a marketplace. And the first real artifact in that story, one that actually exists, does not say what anyone hoped. The clay is real. That is where this starts. In the collection of the British Museum, cataloged and preserved, sits a cuneiform tablet known as Mull, Apin. Its name translates roughly as plow star, the name ancient Mesopotamians gave to what modern observers call the constellation Triangulum. The tablet is not a rumor, it is not a viral screenshot, it is a documented astronomical compendium, studied by scholars, photographed, published, and referenced in serious academic work for over a century. It lists the stars. It divides the sky into three paths: the path of the god Enlil in the north, the path of the god Anu in the center, and the path of the god Ea in the south. It records the dates when stars rise and set. It tracks the moon's movement through specific constellations. It contains rules for intercalary months, how to keep the calendar aligned with the seasons. This is real ancient science, real ancient theology, stitched together the way Mesopotamian civilization always worked, where the sky was not just weather, it was divine grammar. And yet, Mul, Apin, says nothing about stars containing life. It does not identify a star that contacted Earth. It does not describe alien beings or interstellar transmission. Those words do not appear in the text because those are not questions the ancient Mesopotamian scribes were asking. They were asking how to read the sky for planting seasons, royal omens, religious calendars, and divine will. The viral claim took something real and precise and stretched it into something it never was. But pause before moving past that fact. because the stretching itself is the tell. The scribes who produced Mul and Apin were not guessing. They were working from generations of recorded observation. The Neo-Assyrian planisphere fragment recovered from the library of Ashurbanipal at Nineveh shows star positions laid out in mathematical sections across a circular clay surface. The precision is not accidental. These were professional sky watchers. Their job was to track the heavens and report what they saw to kings and temples. They believed the sky was ordered. They believed it communicated. They believed that the movements of stars and planets carried meaning that earthly rulers ignored at their peril. That belief is not alien contact, but it is also not primitive superstition. It is something more unsettling than either. It is the record of an entire civilization convinced that the heavens were not silent. So if the real Mesopotamian tablets do not contain the viral claim, why did ancient people treat the sky as though it was alive with divine meaning? The answer is not in the clay. It is in a far older book. The book does not ease into it. It drops the reader into the middle of something enormous. Job chapter 38, verse 7. God is speaking. The question being posed is one of the most humbling in all of ancient literature. Where were you when the foundations of the earth were laid? And inside that question, almost without warning, comes the image. The morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. Read that slowly. The stars sang, the sons of God shouted. The creation of the world was not a silent event witnessed by no one. According to the oldest wisdom literature in the Hebrew Bible, it was attended. It was celebrated. There were beings present, beings connected to the stars, beings who had a voice, beings who responded to what they saw with what the text calls joy. This is not metaphor dressed up as theology. The ancient readers of this text understood it as a description of something real. Genesis 6, verse 4 steps even further into the strange territory.
Now the question is, how did they know all that? This was the puzzle that I faced when I found out that this was their extraordinary, amazing knowledge. How did they know about all the planets that could not be seen with the naked eye?
The sons of God came to the daughters of men. Children were born. The text calls them the Nephilim, a Hebrew word that carries weight without fully releasing its meaning. The same verse calls them mighty men, men of renown. This passage has unsettled readers for 3,000 years. Rabbis argued over it. Early church fathers argued over it. Modern scholars still argue over it. No translation has resolved the strangeness of what it says. The book of Enoch walks directly into that strangeness. Enoch is not part of the Protestant or Catholic biblical canon, but it was found among the Dead Sea Scrolls, which means it was read and preserved by serious Jewish communities in the centuries before and during the time of Jesus. It quotes in the New Testament book of Jude. It was canon for the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, and still is. Whatever it is not nothing. In Enoch, the stars that fall from heaven are not metaphors. They are beings. Enoch describes them as bound like burning mountains, cast into darkness for transgression. Stars with intention, stars with consequence, stars that made choices and suffered for them. This is the world the Bible was written inside. Not a world where the sky is empty decoration. A world where the heavens and the earth were once far closer together than they are now. That image does not prove alien contact, but it does something more honest than that. It proves that the longing behind the viral tablet claim is not invented by the internet. It is as old as Scripture itself. And then, without warning, modern science stepped into the same question. The number lands differently every time someone says it out loud. Over 5,500 confirmed exoplanets. That is the current count in the NASA Exoplanet Archive, a database maintained by the California Institute of Technology under contract with NASA, updated as new planetary confirmations arrive from observatories and space telescopes around the world. 5,500 worlds beyond this solar system, each one orbiting a star, each one a place where the conditions for life may or may not exist. The Kepler Space Telescope alone confirmed over 2,000 of them before its mission ended in 2018. The James Webb Space Telescope, launched in December 2021, is now capable of analyzing the atmospheric composition of planets orbiting distant stars, looking for chemical signatures that life might leave behind. None of those planets have confirmed life on them. NASA is direct about this. The agency's astrobiology program states clearly that no life beyond Earth has been discovered. No signal, no organism, no confirmed evidence of any kind that biology exists anywhere other than here. And yet the search continues, deliberately, publicly, with billions of dollars and the best instruments human civilization has ever built. That is the detail the viral tablet videos never address, honestly. Because if the ancient Sumerians already knew which stars carried life, if that information was carved into clay 5,000 years ago, then why is NASA still looking? Why are some of the most brilliant scientific minds on the planet spending careers trying to answer a question the internet claims was already solved by ancient scribes? The math does not work. The story does not hold. But here's what the science does confirm. And this part matters. The universe is not empty. The scale of it, hundreds of billions of galaxies, each containing hundreds of billions of stars, many of those stars hosting planets, means that the question of life elsewhere is not a crazy question. It is a serious one. Astronomers take it seriously. Astrobiologists take it seriously. The Vatican's own astronomers take it seriously. The question is legitimate. The search is honest. What is not honest is the shortcut. The version that says the answer was already found and hidden. The version that asks viewers to skip the hard work of evidence and jump straight to certainty. Because there are real people behind those clicks. Real hunger. Real grief. And the machine that feeds on that grief has a name. Nobody clicks on a hidden ancient tablet video because they are bored. They click because something is missing. Because Sunday morning felt thin again. Because they read Genesis 6 one more time and the pastor moved past it in 2 sentences, and something in them wanted to stand up and ask, wait, what did you just skip over? Because they have spent years sensing that the Bible's universe is larger and stranger and more alive than the version they were handed, and nobody in their community seems to want to talk about that. That grief is real. It does not need to be argued with. It needs to be named. The content machine found the grief before the church did. It learned exactly how to open a video. Here is the secret. They buried. Here is what the scholars do not want you to know. Here is the ancient record that rewrites everything. The language targets the wound with precision. It says, your curiosity was right. Your sense that something was hidden is correct. We found it. We are showing you now. And then it delivers nothing that can be verified. No physical tablet location, no academic citation, no museum accession number, no peer-reviewed translation, just dramatic narration over stock footage of cuneiform tablets, sweeping orchestral music, and a comment section full of people who feel, for the first time in a long time, that the cosmos is paying attention to them. Joe Rogan's conversations with Graham Hancock drew millions of listeners because Hancock argues that a technologically advanced civilization was destroyed in a catastrophe around 12,000 years ago, and that mainstream archaeology has not fully reckoned with the evidence. Whether one agrees with Hancock's conclusions or not, the conversations happened because the audience was already there, already hungry, already convinced that official history had left something out. Mel Gibson, in a separate discussion on Rogan's platform, spoke about his long-planned project on the resurrection and described exploring territory involving the fall of angels and spiritual realms that most mainstream productions avoid. That conversation also reached millions, because millions of people already believe those realms are real and feel that popular culture has spent decades pretending otherwise. The hunger is not manufactured. The hunger is ancient. What the content machine manufactured is the false answer. It took real longing and sold it a counterfeit. It took the genuine ache people carry for a bigger universe, a stranger Bible, a heaven that still speaks, and it handed them a claim with no foundation, no evidence, and no reverence. And the most painful part of that transaction is what it stole. It did not just mislead people. It cheapened the very mystery they were trying to protect, because once the false tablet falls apart, something else is still standing in the ruins. And that something is far more difficult to dismiss. The false claim collapses, and something unexpected is left standing in its place. Not emptiness, not defeat. Something stranger and more honest than either of those things. Because when the fabricated tablet is removed from the story, when the dramatic narration is stripped away and the stock footage goes dark, what remains is a question that no viral video invented and no debunking can dissolve. Why did every ancient civilization look up? Not casually, not occasionally, with obsession, with institutional resources, with temples built to track star positions across decades, with priests whose entire professional lives were dedicated to reading the sky, with kings who would not make war, plant crops, or crown successors without first consulting what the heavens said. Mesopotamia was not alone in this. Egypt oriented the Great Pyramid's shafts towards specific star positions. The builders of Stonehenge aligned the monument to the sunrise of the summer solstice and the moonrise of the major lunar standstill. The Maya developed a Venus calendar so precise that modern astronomers have confirmed its accuracy across centuries.
And look for this time capsule. If you don't know that somewhere there should be such a, you will never go and look for it. That's why they told our ancestor, be it in French Brittany, make these lines of stones exactly geometrical.
The ancient Greeks mapped the heavens into mythological figures that carried moral and divine meaning. The Vedic tradition of ancient India built an entire branch of sacred knowledge around the movement of stars and planets. None of these civilizations talked to each other. None of them shared a textbook. And yet all of them arrived at the same conviction: the sky is not background. The sky is text. That convergence is the real discovery this documentary was always moving toward. Not the viral claim, not the fake tablet. The fact that human beings, across every culture, every continent, every century of recorded history, looked at the same stars and felt the same thing, that something up there was ordered, that something up there was aware, that the distance between heaven and earth was not as fixed as it looked from the ground. The Mesopotamian scribe who carved Mul, Apin, was not chasing alien contact, but he was doing something that the viral video, in all its confidence, could never do. He was paying attention, carefully, humbly, over a lifetime. And the civilization that produced him believed, at its core, that sky knowledge was not optional, that ignoring the heavens was not just ignorance, it was danger. That warning did not stay in Mesopotamia. It crossed directly into the text that billions of people still read every week. And it arrived with a sharpness that the ancient world did not soften and did not apologize for. The warning is already written. It has been written for over 3,000 years. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 19. Moses is speaking to Israel before they enter the land. He has already warned them about idols carved from wood and stone. Then he lifts the warning higher into the sky itself. He tells them not to be drawn away to worship the sun, the moon, and the stars, all the host of heaven, which the Lord their God has allotted to all the peoples under the whole heaven. Read that phrase again carefully. Allotted to all the peoples. The text does not say the stars are meaningless. It does not say ancient civilizations were foolish for watching them. It acknowledges that the host of heaven holds a kind of power over human attention, a pull so strong that God addresses it directly, not with mockery, but with a boundary. This is one of the most underread warnings in the entire Hebrew Bible, because it does something most modern readers are not prepared for. It admits that the heavens have influence. It admits that other nations were given the stars as part of their world. And then it draws a line not around knowledge, but around worship. Israel was not told to stop watching the sky. They were told not to surrender their soul to it. That distinction is the entire moral architecture of this documentary. Ancient Mesopotamian astronomers watched the sky and recorded what they saw. That is observation. When the same civilization began treating planetary movements as the voice of Marduk or Ishtar determining the fate of kings, that observation crossed into worship. The line is not always visible from the outside, but the Hebrew text draws it with precision. Job's morning stars sang at creation. The sons of God witnessed the foundations of the earth being laid. Enoch's bound stars faced consequences for transgressing their assigned place. None of those images ask the reader to worship stars. All of them ask the reader to understand that the sky is not empty, and that the beings or forces connected to it are under authority. That framework, the sky is real, the stars is significant, but neither to be worshipped nor to replace the Creator, is what the viral tablet content destroys every time it publishes. It does not teach reverence. It manufactures urgency. It replaces the long, patient work of understanding ancient texts with a shortcut that feels sacred but leads nowhere solid. And when a false claim carries that kind of weight, it does not just mislead, it causes harm. That is where this story demands the hardest honesty of all. Say it plainly. The claim has no foundation. There is no verified Sumerian tablet that lists every star containing life. There's no authenticated ancient record that identifies a specific star as the one that contacted Earth. No museum holds it. No archaeologist excavated it. No peer-reviewed journal published its translation. No cuneiform scholar has cited it. The British Museum, the Vorderasiatisches Museum in Berlin, the Oriental Institute in Chicago, the Iraq Museum in Baghdad, these institutions collectively house some of the most significant Mesopotamian artifacts ever recovered. Not one of them has cataloged a tablet matching the viral description. This is not an argument from silence in the way that phrase is sometimes used to wave away inconvenient gaps. This is an argument from the complete and total absence of a single verifiable data point. The claim exists in narration, it exists in thumbnail images, it exists in comment sections, it does not exist in the archaeological record. And the people who produced those videos knew where to find a real tablet if one existed. The British Museum's online collection is publicly searchable. The Cuneiform Digital Library Initiative, a collaborative academic project between UCLA and the Max Planck Institute, has digitized and published tens of thousands of cuneiform tablets available to anyone with an internet connection. If the tablet existed, the evidence would exist. Evidence does not hide from search engines. What the videos are selling is not discovery, it is atmosphere. The combination of ancient imagery, dramatic music, a confident voice, and an audience already primed by grief and longing, that combination produces the feeling of revelation without any of its substance. That feeling is not harmless. When a believer shares a false tablet claim in a church group, and another believer later finds out it was fabricated, something breaks. Not just trust in that one video, trust in the category. Suddenly, the real tablets, the real ancient texts, the real biblical mysteries that deserve careful attention, all of it gets pulled into the same pile of suspicion. The false claim poisons the well for the true one. Sacred history deserves better than that. The Bible deserves better. Ancient Mesopotamia deserves better. The people watching these videos, carrying their quiet grief and their genuine longing, deserve far better. Because the real story, the actual documented record of ancient people watching the sky, writing what they saw, connecting it to divine order, and warning each other about what happens when the heavens are worshipped, instead of read that story, is already extraordinary. It does not need to be inflated. It does not need a fake tablet. It just needs someone willing to tell it honestly. And when the false certainty finally falls away, one question refuses to leave the room. It is the oldest question, and it has never been fully answered.
One more planet, which you can see here, which is missing from our knowledge. And they had a tale which was read on a certain night after nightfall as part of the New Year.
Here is what is actually true, and it is enough. Real Mesopotamian tablets exist in museum collections right now, photographed and published, describing a civilization that treated the sky as a living document of divine order, the MUL. Apin Compendium is real. The Neo-Assyrian planisphere fragment from the library of Ashurbanipal at Nineveh is real. The precision of ancient Babylonian astronomical calculations, some of which anticipated modern mathematical methods used to track planetary motion, is documented and confirmed by historians of science. The Bible's cosmic language is real. Morning stars that sing, sons of God who shout at creation, giants whose origin the text leaves deliberately open. A book of Enoch read by Jewish communities for centuries, found in caves near the Dead Sea, describing a universe populated with watchers and fire and judgment and stars that made choices. These texts exist. These questions are legitimate. The mystery did not need to be invented. NASA's confirmed exoplanet count is real. Over 5,500 worlds. The James Webb Space Telescope is real, scanning the atmospheres of distant planets for chemical signatures that life might leave behind. The scientific search for life beyond Earth is not a fringe project. It is funded, staffed, and taken seriously by some of the most rigorous institutions in the world. None of that requires a fake tablet. None of that needs to be inflated. The permission this documentary is offering right now is specific. Stay curious. Stay serious. Do not let the false claim make the real mystery feel cheap. Do not let the content machine's failures become a reason to stop asking the hard questions that ancient texts actually raise. Mystery is not the enemy of faith. Falsehood is. The book of Job asks where any human being was when the stars were set in place. That question was not asked to humiliate. It was asked to locate. To remind a man in pain that the universe is larger than his suffering, older than his confusion, and ordered by something that has not stopped being ordered just because the man cannot see it clearly from where he is sitting. That is not a small thing. That is not a throwaway line in an ancient poem. That is the frame inside which the entire conversation about stars, ancient tablets, life beyond Earth, and the Bible's cosmic world actually makes sense. Grief does not have to become gullibility. Longing does not have to become a marketplace transaction. The oldest texts may not answer every question the modern world is asking, but they were never meant to answer those questions alone. They were meant to teach a different kind of listening. And the final question in this story is not about the tablet at all. Come back to the title one more time. Sit with it. The secret Sumerian tablet that reveals every star with life and marks the one that contacts Earth. That title worked. It spread. It reached millions of people who felt, in the moment they read it, that something enormous had just been placed in their hands. A secret, a confirmation, a crack in the official version of history wide enough to see through. The title worked because the longing underneath it is real. People are not searching for alien contact the way a science fiction audience searches for entertainment. They are searching for a universe that still speaks. They are searching for confirmation that the heavens are not silent machinery and that the ancient words they have carried since childhood, "Let there be light," the morning stars sang, the sons of God saw the daughters of men. Those words point to something that is still true and still alive and still relevant to the world they are living in right now. That search is not foolishness. It is the most human thing there is. The secret was never the tablet. The tablet does not exist in the form it was claimed. The secret was the ache. The wide, old, stubborn ache inside humanity that refuses to accept a universe without meaning, a sky without voice, a Bible with all its strangest passages quietly smoothed over and replaced with safe, manageable doctrine. That ache built the temples of Mesopotamia. It drove the scribes of Mul, Apin, to record the sky with the discipline of scientists and the reverence of priests. It placed the morning stars in Job's mouth as witnesses to creation. It preserved the Book of Enoch in desert caves for 2,000 years. It sent the Kepler telescope into orbit and gave the James Webb Space Telescope its mandate. It fills comment sections at 2 in the morning with people who cannot sleep because the question is still open. The chamber is not underground. It was never carved from stone. It is inside the human heart, and it has been listening for a signal longer than any civilization has been keeping records. Perhaps the first signal was never radio, never alien, never hidden in clay. Perhaps it was always the ancient testimony that the heavens declare something ordered, something authoritative, something that has never stopped speaking even when the people listening stop knowing how to hear. The question this documentary leaves open is the same one every honest ancient text leaves open. If the stars were never meant to contact Earth, why did every civilization in human history keep watching them as though they were waiting for a reply? Leave that answer in the comments. Share this with someone who is still asking. And if you are serious about these questions, the Nephilim, the giants, the Book of Enoch, the hidden roots of biblical history, the ancient records that have never stopped being strange, subscribe right now and turn on notifications. Because the next documentary on this channel goes somewhere the mainstream has never been willing to go. The ancient texts have more to say. And this channel will not rush past the hard passages.